All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Kirsten from the MassRealty communications team, here to talk with Ted Kuklinski about the Newton Conservators and their respective green areas and parks. Organizations like these are interesting to us because they help preserve natural and recreational spaces for the community. And it also means that you have a community and neighbors that care. So that's why we're going to have a little bit of a conversation here. So thank you so much for joining me today, Ted. Could you just introduce yourself for us a little bit?
Well, as you said, my name is Ted Kuklinski, and you pronounced it right, so I'm so happy. But yeah, I'm the president of the Newton Conservators, which is our local open space land trust organization. It's somewhat similar to something like a Mass Audubon, but on a local basis.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and I was a computer scientist, but now I'm a amateur naturalist kind of person, and I just love open space, and that's why I joined the organization. The organization itself has been around since 1961, so this is
Okay.
our 60th anniversary. Luckily for Newton, that we had people with foresight and foresight to preserve the open space that we had. So
Right.
it's uh, the our Newton is a somewhat built up area at this point. I mean, we don't have as much Newton space, or we don't have as much open space left as we used to.
Hmm.
But it's called the Garden City, so which is obviously it implies a little greenness. So, but in fact, I think about 20% of the land area in Newton is probably open space, of which, as I remember, 55% or so is public land,
Okay.
which are parks, conservation areas, and so on. And it's a city of villages.
Hmm.
So it's a city which had, I think the population is something like 89,000, but it's 13 villages, each of which probably has some good open space nearby. And, where the boundaries are a little bit fuzzy sometimes, but
Right. I
but
can imagine.
that's one of the beautiful things about living in Newton is that it is green, and I think a lot of people appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. The foresight is important because I think now a lot of organizations like you guys are just trying to work backwards in restoring stuff that's already been torn up or developed. So it's good that you had a nice head start on that, at least with when the organization was founded 60 years ago. Congratulations.
Well, yeah, yeah, I mean, our mission is really promoting the acquisition and of natural and recreational open spaces for the benefit and enjoyment of all people. So,
Hmm.
in a nutshell, that's it. And kind of educating people about those open spaces. So that's kind of what we do. We have been very active over the years in trying to acquire open space.
Hmm.
Even in recent years, we've managed to add some new open space to Newton,
Okay.
particularly the state of Massachusetts, in their wisdom, created something called the Community Preservation Act, which related to real estate. It takes 1% of the real estate taxes in Newton and it
Hmm.
applies it to a fund, and then it gets some state matching grants. But that fund can be applied to doing acquiring open space,
Hmm.
uh, community housing, historical preservation, or recreation. So, and a certain amount of that fund is allocated for open space, so a certain guaranteed. So we've successfully been able to use that to acquire some properties that have come on the market for open space. Notably, recently, a huge tract in Newton Center called Webster Woods,
Okay.
which was, I think it's, I don't know, 15, $16 million, which is a lot.
It's quite a
But
bit.
yeah, that's probably one of the larger um, open space acquisitions that we've had here. But
Hmm.
it's this beautiful woods area that would have been lost to probably to development
Hmm.
of some sort by So that's the kind of thing that we look for, particularly since like that was a great space because it was originally donated as open space and it
Mhm.
became part of a, a church organization and which sold it to a college, which then probably had in mind building all kinds of things there.
Right.
Uh, but it was a connector between other existing open spaces. And now,
Oh, yeah.
with the CPA, we were able to acquire it. And, that's the kind of thing we advocate for. And, we work with local friends groups. And, there was a Friends of Webster Woods that got started. And, we pushed it. We had walks and things there. So that kind
Lovely.
of advocacy is something that we really get a lot into.
Right. So it's not
Um,
just
you
about
know,
protecting these spaces, but allowing them to be accessed by everybody, because there's lots of beautiful green spaces sometimes or green areas, but maybe privately owned that people can't get to.
yeah, we
Hmm.
we try to make it as accessible, and we try to invite everybody to come and make people aware of these spaces.
Hmm.
So the education part of it is a big is a big part of what we do. So we try to do that by various means. We have uh, our website, newtonconservators.org, is a terrific compendium of information on the open space. We have maps, and we have we publish a trail guide, which is
Oh, cool.
this is really one of the great things. We have an almanac that shows you what kind of nature things you'd find. But the trail guide and so on, the information is on our website, freely accessible for by anybody, anytime. But we have maps of all the open spaces. We tell you what's there, what features you can find. Can you go ice skating there? Is it good for for walking, for fishing, swimming, whatever.
Right, right.
So we really try to show people, and this being COVID time,
Hmm.
open space has been shown to be you know extremely valuable in COVID time
Right.
because people want to, they're going crazy with getting out of the Zoom world
Hmm.
and getting out into the real world,
Of course.
and you know you can socially distance, and you can, it's a lot easier to do it outside,
Hmm.
and you want to go experience nature. It's something, get away from the technology a little bit, go hear the birds, and go look at the animal tracks in the snow, or just meditate. Forest bathing is a new thing that people love to do, and you
Right.
know the health benefits of doing that have been shown, in studies. How people just relax, and they feel much better. It's good for health, for your physical
Hmm.
and mental well-being. So
Right.
so that's what we're promoting. We're a health cure for so there's some folk they call it nature deficit disorder,
Right.
and
Yes.
especially for kids, you got to get kids interested in nature. There's too much time spent online and tablets, and
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
spent, but getting out, looking at the birds and the bugs and the ducks and the mosses and the ferns, and the plants and the flowers, that
Right.
that that's invaluable. I mean, I think that's how I got started. I grew up in Philadelphia, and in the city, but we had some open space there, great parks, and that's what got me going. I had some old opera glasses, and I used to try to look at birds, and that stuck with me, and that's why I'm in this organization.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. No, I think it's for that reason it's so important to live in a community or in a town where you have access to these green areas and in any time of the year or any time and then as well more so like you said under COVID conditions, and it's cool that they're coming out with all these studies now about the mental and even physical health impacts of being in nature. So we really need organizations to push for these things and to help us understand what parks are where and what you can do is so important. Because if you don't know it's there, you're never going to go visit either, right?
Yeah, and
Mhm.
yeah, I mean that I think that's one of the roles we play in COVID. I've come across people in our local parks and conservation area. You know, they've they've uh, wanted to get out exploring, and
Mhm.
so they found our website or whatever. Some of them have their guide in their pocket, and their goal is to visit all the parks in Newton or whatever.
Right. Oh,
So,
lovely. Yeah.
but people have told me I never knew this place was here.
Right.
I lived like 3 blocks from here. I never knew it was here. Because sometimes these little nature pockets are surrounded. They're not on a major street even,
Right.
and people don't know they're there. And until they were so stir crazy that they had to go seek them out. So
Right. Well, you can do kind of a little scavenger hunt, I guess, in Newton and go around to all the different green spaces and check them off your list.
you could do that.
Excellent. Well, it's nice to hear that there's so many spaces available that it can do that. What are some of the kind of favorite parks or the big parks that your organization looks after that are really popular?
Well, um, yeah, you can find these all on our website.
Right.
We have a nice map and keyed and so on. But and in Newton, we have a lot of our large areas uh, are controlled by. They're either under the jurisdiction of Parks and Recreation and Culture Department or the Conservation Commission.
Hmm.
So there's sort of a difference between active and passive recreation. So some of our parks have combinations of like sports fields
Hmm.
and woods and others are more contemplative, good for bird watching and so so we have quite a variety of different parks. But if you consider some of the larger parks in Newton, what comes to mind? Cold Spring Park. It might be called the Central Park of Newton,
Okay.
uh, because it's in Newton Center. Um, Off Beacon Street is the main entrance, but that's a great park. It's very large. It's got the sports fields. In the summer, there's, not in COVID time, but there's a farmer's market there every
Okay.
Tuesday.
Lovely.
And there's a great trail that goes all the way around. It would probably, could take you an hour to go around.
Hmm.
Well, maybe not an hour, but, and in
Somewhere
the
around
winter,
there.
you could cross country, you could ski around it or whatever. But it has lots of woods. It's got vernal pools. Uh, it's a great area for bird watching.
Hmm.
There's a huge field which is a dog park. Dogs can really run free. It's maybe a couple acres, maybe I don't know, several acre,
Right.
large. So many different uses. So that's one of the ones that comes to mind. Plus
For
it has
sure.
a exercise stations around on the trail system. So
Right. So
uh,
there's lots for people to go out and enjoy for sure.
yeah.
Hmm.
Another one, Nahonton Park, sort of
Oh,
more on the south side, right along the Charles River.
okay.
You can rent canoes and kayaks there. Which is there's a little nature center. There are soccer fields. There's community gardens. Again, one of the great places for birding. We lead a lot of bird walks, and so
Right.
these are some of the places we take people. Um, Speaking of birds, it's one of the places where people go in the spring for the. There's a special bird called the woodcock, American
Okay.
woodcock,
Hmm.
which does this amazing dance where it flies up in the air, a mating dance or something, and then it
Hmm.
spirals down and makes sounds. And people, birders go there to just see this thing in the, at
In its
dusk.
natural habitat doing its
Yeah,
mating
yeah,
dance. Yeah.
and we work. We work sometimes to promote those kind of habitats. We had to like trim some shrubbery out to make it more like habitable for the woodcock. So
Okay.
um, Webster Woods, which I mentioned before, is something we say. It has a vernal pool called Bear Pond, which supports native yellow spotted salamanders.
Oh,
There's rock climbing. There's a cave. It's part of another, a whole, that was one key section of this whole area around Hammond Pond Parkway. There's a number of parks around there that are all interconnected. Some owned by the city, some owned by the department, the state.
hmm.
Um, so that's a wonderful one. Part of that whole system, there's another one I really like is Houghton Garden.
Okay.
It was part of an estate, and this Mrs. Houghton, um, a long time ago, I think 1908 or something like that, she designed. They moved some streams around and created a pond, and it's brought in every kind of rhododendron there is,
Oh, wow.
and so there's beautiful flower. So it's a design garden, but it's so natural looking, and it has beautiful trails and a little waterfall, and you know little benches that are just hidden, among the bushes that you can just sit and contemplate nature.
Right.
So different kind of a situation. Crystal Lake, we have, one of the great things about Newton is we have a lake.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and
That's hard to find sometimes.
that, and people see it if you go on the trolley line that goes right by
Hmm.
it.
Okay.
People see the lake and they see people swimming and canoeing and sailing, and so. But having that right in the city is fantastic. So and
Right.
people
It's
and
hard to run out of things to do, I think.
it's fishing. You can go fishing there too. You know, on the north side, we have Auburndale Park, and
Hmm.
which is also connected. Whoops, sorry.
That's okay.
Floyd Meadow is also connected to that, and there's another park pretty close, Norumbega Park, which used to be a very old amusement. One of the old amusement parks.
Hmm.
But these are all city. So uh, it's in Newton. It's called the Cove.
Okay.
But it's if you don't know where it is, you have to look it up to get there, because you get to it by not a major street, but all kinds of things, fields and tennis courts and basketball courts. It's right next to the Charles River playground,
Hmm.
uh, little groves for picnicking, barbecuing areas, and you can trails walking along the Charles River. You can do a really nice little loop there and across the Floyd Meadow, which is sort of a swampy area where there's a stream running through it. Great birding,
Hmm.
uh, again, so. But what else on the south side? Kennard Park, the headquarters for Parks Rec and Culture
Okay.
department. It's an old estate, but you can in a half hour, 40-minute walk loop around there through the forest, and
Right.
there's some pollinator gardens, and but every piece of Newton has some things that I think that are unique and wonderful.
Right,
So
and there's some interesting history, I guess, as well behind some of these parks that used to be estates or that have been, maintained or created by certain people. So that's also something additionally interesting to your little outdoor adventure while you're there.
it is, and if you're interested in any of that, our website on the information on each one has the history. We have collections of photographs or
Hmm.
videos of it, or
Right.
maps. Whatever as much information, we just put it there to make it as accessible as possible.
Right. If anybody's homeschooling right now, lots of great material. You can actually go on a little field trip and learn about a place. I think that would be lovely for some people.
I think before this, you had were going to ask me what my favorite place was.
Yes, I was going to ask what your favorite place was.
Well, um, it's a very small area. It's not like Cold Spring Park or anything, but
Right.
it's only about 8 or 9 acres. It's called
Hmm.
Dolan Pond
Okay.
Conservation Area, and it's in West Newton. But there's only one little entrance on a major street, which is on Auburndale Ave. Avenue. And but the beauty of this place is, even though it's small, it has four vernal pools. Vernal pools are uh, sort of bodies of water that are not fed by a spring or a stream or anything. So it's just
Okay.
basically runoff from around. So this is a low area, swampy area, surprisingly free of mosquitoes.
That's interesting.
But it was only acquired by the city in 1968, I believe, uh, or maybe later. I don't. But anyway, the Wetlands Protection Act really came along at the right time, and people with foresight said we should preserve this. Otherwise, it could have been housing development in a swamp, which would have been a very bad idea for us.
Anyways.
But as it is, it's one of the it has handicap parking, it has accessible trails, it has a little boardwalk through the swamp, it has overlooks over two of the ponds. It's incredibly biodiverse despite its small size. I've personally seen over like 120 species of birds there.
Wow, that's a great
Particularly
number. Yeah.
in the spring, the warblers, they use it as a rest stop on their way north, and
Right.
it's just, it's wonderful for children to.
Mhm.
They go watch the turtles. There's some garter snakes. Not really nothing too dangerous
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
but we have a variety of ducks. Wood ducks. We're putting up nesting boxes for wood ducks now. The most colorful duck, one of the prettiest birds around. And
Right.
occasionally there's even a deer, foxes, sometimes a coyote, a rare time, but they run away.
Right, of
They're kind of
course.
shy.
Mhm.
But just a little gem of nature, and quite biodiverse in terms of plants and uh, other things. We're planting milkweed there for butterflies as well. So
Right.
that's the kind of, and we also use it as an invasive. We do a lot of invasive removal. So one of the
Mhm.
dangers for our parks and conservation areas is that they they become encroached upon by uh, non-native plants.
Mhm.
Non-native plants um, are not so popular with the bees and the birds and so on,
Of
and
course.
so um, they kind of degrade our conservation areas. So
Right.
so we have a team. I mean, we have volunteer opportunities. We go into these places with, and we have in non-COVID times, we have public events. Now we have sort of a team that knows what they're doing, and we just go in and we pull out some of the weeds like garlic mustard or buckthorn or
Right. The
knotweed
really
or
aggressive ones. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
There's a list there. It's not that plants are terrible. I mean, it's great to have green plants, but
Of course.
the native plants suffer, and so that's one of the big things that we do. Um, the other thing for
Yeah,
these
that's great.
conservation areas like this is that we we do a lot of work with the city. We work in cooperation with the city of Newton.
Mhm.
We hold what are called conservation restrictions. This is one of our main roles.
Okay.
The city itself is not able, or by law, they can't hold a conservation restriction on their own property. But
Mhm.
so they partner with us, and we hold the restriction. So but as part of that, we have teams that go out, and we have to monitor them every year. We visit, we take pictures, we write up reports, we note any invasives coming in, we note any dumping that's been going on,
Right.
anything that's bad there, we report, and then the city, it's up to them to do the enforcement on it. But
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing we do.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, so
and
a
we
lot of
have
hands-on work there. Mhm.
yeah. So it's both hands-on and other areas. In terms of the kind of things that we like. we we're like I don't know if I mentioned we're totally volunteer run. We don't have any
Okay.
paid staff or anything, so we have a very active board who a variety of skills. Some are very teach biology, or some people are lawyers, and some people are business people, and some people are real estate people.
Right.
um, so a variety of talents that come together and to help open space, and uh, so that works out. So, but volunteer opportunities would be doing the hands-on work. We
For
have a
sure.
we have a new we promote a lot of things with trails. We're trying to
Mhm.
build up more trail systems. We've been promoting a new trail system along a section of the Charles River called the Riverside Greenway.
Mhm.
And we as new developers come along, we sort of, as part of their special permit, they there's one developer that's donating money to a couple $1 million actually
Okay.
to help us develop this trail system. So we've just opened one section of a trail just this past year.
Oh,
Uh,
that's lovely. Yeah.
but with volunteer efforts, doing some of the work on the trail and planting things along it and so on. As I mentioned, we have teams that do the invasive pulling. We
Mhm.
probably, in a non-COVID year, we'd probably run, I don't know, 30 or 40 events of pulling out invasives,
Right.
cleanups along the river. Um, so and the monitoring for the conservation restrictions. But
Awesome.
otherwise, we have public education. We do, we maintain the website, prepare content for our newsletter. We send out a frequent email bulletin to everybody. That's free. Our newsletter is online, and you can access back issues and so on.
Okay, cool.
It's doing social media, Facebook, Instagram, and now even
Right.
TikTok we have. So,
Oh,
um,
awesome. Yeah, you have to cover them all, I guess. Hey, stay relevant.
well, these days you do, yeah. We've been doing. We usually do lecture. We have done lectures in the library. We
Okay.
sponsor talks by noted speakers. We've moved that, and we've also done. We usually do walks and bird walks and things like that. So, which draw a lot of people and get
Of
them
course.
familiar. But
Lovely.
with COVID, we've moved those functions sort of to a webinar series. So we're getting a lot of the same people. Like
Mhm.
we have somebody who's really good at birds in Cold Spring Park, and he's doing virtual tours of talks about what birds are there in the fall or the winter or spring or whatever. So
Right,
so we
right.
the webinar series has been great because people they can see the slides, and
Mhm.
um, so that it's another way of educating people. And then the beauty of that is we video them, we put them on YouTube, so they're
Okay.
always available. So when somebody does that. So
Right. So
I
there's a
don't
little
know.
bit of
I'm
something
out
for
of breath.
everyone to enjoy and a little bit of something for everyone to be a part of as well if they want to join this. It seems like you guys have a really great community and a great chance to be a part of the community, which is super important for people there already and thinking about coming there maybe later. Yeah, that's
We
excellent.
hope so. We
Yeah.
certainly hope so.
Well, I
Uh,
think I think you went ahead and covered pretty much all of my questions, which is amazing. This is it's been a really great time. I've learned a lot, and definitely, I'm sure anybody that's in the area is gonna go to the website, which will be down in the description to the video as well, and you can check out any of the parks that Ted talked about today, or see whichever parks that maybe weren't mentioned that you want to go check out as well. So I
yeah.
think, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say to keep up with things. If anybody wants to subscribe to our e-bulletin, it's one word, e-bulletin at newtonconservators.org.
Okay,
Just send an
perfect.
email there, and it's free, and we don't share the list, and we don't
Right.
inundate people. But
Right. It's a good way to
and
stay.
that's
Mhm.
but anyway, I just wanted get that in there. So,
No, of
we
course.
welcome, we love membership, but most of our programs are free anyway. So, uh, please come and join us, and get out in the open and enjoy all the green stuff, green space that Newton has to offer.
All the green that we
And
need in our
thank
lives.
Yeah, and Kirsten, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, it was lovely talking to you. I really enjoyed it and definitely want to do some birding in Newton now for sure. It sounds like a great place to check out. All right, so anybody that's watching this, if you would like to also do an interview with us talking about your neighborhood park, museum, establishment, do check out the other link down in the description and we will get in touch. Until next time, thank you so much, Ted.
You're very welcome.